Okay, so continuing to talk about verbs, we also need to talk about non-finite forms of verbs. And so we're going to start by talking about infinitives. Before we move into talking about infinitive phrases, I just want to remind you what the difference is between a phrase and a clause really quickly. So a phrase has no finite verb, and no grammatical subject. Okay. Whereas a clause contains a finite verb and a grammatical subject. Okay. So that is why we are going to be talking about phrases rather than clauses in relationship to infinitives. So we're going to start by talking about infinitive phrases. So just in case you don't remember, an infinitive is going to be the word to plus the base form of the verb. So for example, to be, to run. Okay. Now, there are a couple of important things to be aware of when it comes to infinitive phrases. So first, they cannot show tense. So when you have an infinitive, it is neither present nor past tense. Tense just doesn't exist. Interestingly, though, it can show aspect. So if you remember, aspect is perfect, progressive, or perfect progressive. So it can show that. So it can indicate something about time, even if it can't show tense. Additionally, they can be periphrastic, which just means that they can have multiple words, so they don't just have to have the two. Um, and it always has a logical but not grammatical subject. Okay. So I am going to give you an example of how infinitive phrases might be used. In this case, like nouns, so like the subject of a sentence. So I could say to read an infinitive, right, was fun. To read was fun. I could also say to be reading was fun, right? And this is an example of the progressive aspect. I could say to have read was fun, which is a perfect aspect. And I could say to have been reading was fun, and this is going to be perfect progressive aspect. And you'll notice that these last three are all periphrastic infinitive phrases, right? They have more than one word. In all of these cases, they function like the subject of the sentence, because our main verb is was and fun is an adjective, right? So a subject complement. So in this case, we have infinitive phrases that are functioning like nouns because they are functioning like the subject of the sentence that I've constructed. Additionally, it is important to be aware that infinitive phrases can also function like adverbials. Okay. Which just means they can function like adverbs. When they do this, they are always adjuncts, which just means always excess. right? So non-essential. And they are also considered to be dangling if not next to the logical subject. And I'm going to put subject in scare quotes because, again, it's a logical and not a grammatical subject. So let me give you an example. To find him, Feyre did all she could. Okay. So this is our core clause. Okay. Here we have our infinitive phrase. Feyre did all she could would work as a sentence by itself. So to find him is extra or unnecessary information. It's modifying that sentence. It's next to the logical subject, but it is functioning adverbially. It's functioning like an adverb in this instance. So when we're looking at infinitive phrases, they can function like nouns, they can function like adverbs. It depends on their placement and the role that they're playing in the rest of the sentence.